So let's take a look at section 5 and turn to page 2. There is a quote or a paragraph up there. Who would like to read that for the group? Who would like to read that out loud for the group? Okay, go for it, Terry.
Listening to the ideas and opinions of others and having one's own ideas understood is a foundation for building agreement and taking concerted action. However, people often fail to listen to each other. As a consequence, they create antagonism instead of alignment. There is an alternative. Even when one feels defensive or aggressive, it is possible to make a conscious choice to listen as an ally.
Okay, this is not easy stuff, but the payoff is tremendous for getting involved with it. So let's look at the chart. The purpose of listening as an adversary is to defend and resist, but as an ally, it's to understand, support, and assist. Key attitude, it's me versus you as an adversary, but as an ally, it's us working together. The strategies, as an adversary, I'm going to make you wrong. I'm going to dominate the discussion. Have you ever been in an argument or a discussion with someone that they just wore you down? You would agree to anything to get away from them. Absolutely anything. But as an ally, I'm going to be curious about your ideas. And I'm going to show empathy. There's that word empathy again that we keep talking about for your experiences and your ideas. Behaviors, as an adversary, I'm going to judge. I'm going to interrupt. I'm going to dominate the discussion. I'm going to debate. But as an ally, I'm going to suspend my judgment. And I'm going to really use open-ended questions and try to listen to you. And finally, the impact, and this is so important. As an adversary, I've created distrust and resentment. We have few possibilities to get any work done. But as an ally, we have trust and appreciation of each other. Even if we disagree, we've come to a place where we can have something to build on. Okay, any questions about this? All right, let's take a look at those listening as an ally skills. The first one is to bracket. When you come to a set of brackets in a paragraph, it sets aside the language, the words that are in that bracket. That's what I'm talking about doing here. When you read in Fisher and Orion Getting to Yes, they call it going to the balcony. And I'm going to set aside my judgments about you. Maybe Marshall and I have been in meetings in the past together, and we've decided we don't like each other very much. I'm going to set aside my feelings of Marshall, and I'm going to invite him to do the same about each other so we can really try to listen to each other's central message. It's tough stuff, but very, very valuable. I can't model bracketing for you. It happens up here, but very important. Reflect. I am going to say back to you in your words what I understood you to say. My son has been in special education for 3 years and he still can't read. So you're saying your son has been in special education for 3 years and he still can't read. Now, reflect is difficult. You have to be authentic and you have to make sure that you do not introduce any irony or sarcasm, because it can be deadly for you. When you watch a lot of the people who do talk shows, and I think Oprah is the queen of this, she uses a lot of reflecting. I was watching David Letterman the other night, and he does reflecting. So reflecting is very, very powerful. There is probably nothing that is more significant than hearing your own words come back to you and knowing that you've been valued. Paraphrase. I'm going to put in my words what I understood you to say. My son has been in special education for 3 years and he still can't read. So you're saying your son is struggling with reading and has been for some time. Many people, and Doug and I have had this conversation about reflecting and paraphrase, many people find paraphrasing easier to do than reflecting. Now, if you read Roger Schwartz's book on the skilled facilitator, the basis of his facilitation is all about the ladder of inference, which is a model we're going to learn about in a little bit, and also it is about reflecting. That's the total basis for the way that he facilitates. It can be very difficult, so you may want to try paraphrasing first and then move into reflecting. But that's a choice for you to do, and in some situations one works better than the other. Had a teacher who said that she was at an IEP meeting and she kept reflecting what the mother had said. The mother was there with her mother, the child's grandmother. And the mother would say to her, "That's not what I said." And so she said, "Okay, I'm sorry, well, let's go at this again." So they would do it again, and the mother goes, "You still don't have it." And her mother interrupted her and said, "Yeah, she really does. That's what you're saying." Sometimes reflecting puts us back in touch with what we're saying and not what we're thinking, or what we're thinking and not what we're saying. It's very important. Perception check. I'm going to check and make sure that I have an understanding of the emotions and thoughts you're expressing. Very important to know where somebody is coming from and what's driving them. My son has been in special education for 3 years and he still can't read. Wow, you seem pretty angry about your son's reading level. No, I'm not angry, I'm frustrated. Good to know. How I'm going to handle someone who is frustrated versus angry are going to be two different approaches. I need to know that. Open-ended questions. I want to elicit more information. If you want someone to really feel that they've been heard and their message is important, use open-ended questions. But be careful. If Howard makes a statement and I ask him an open-ended question, I better pull up a chair, sit down, and get ready to listen to him. Because if I start tapping my little toe and looking at my watch while he's talking, I've dismissed him. I've undone everything I wanted to do. Body language. This is so important. How many times have we been in IEP meetings and looked around the table and watched the body language? The classroom teacher who is on the side grading papers. The eye roll from one of the therapists. You want to dismiss people, the hands crossed over your chest. You know, maybe you're cold, and Doug's going to talk a lot more about this, or maybe you're just bored stiff and very resistant to what this person is saying. Everybody in here, show me your best open body language. You're absolutely fascinated with what I have to say. This is great. Oh, look, you're sitting up straight, good eye contact, leaning forward, nodding your head. Absolutely. Now show me your best closed body language. You're disengaged. Some of you didn't change. So you know what you're looking for and you know what to do it. You need to invite staff, particularly staff, to look engaged in the process and monitor your own body language. Doug, I know you're dying to talk about body language.
I love body. I've been a student of body language for a long, long time. And those of you who are, well, nobody here is as old as I am, but when I was young in this profession, We had body language workshops every fall. Literally, every fall. I don't know why we don't anymore. Body language is 95% of your communication. Think about that. And for us to not be aware of it. For example, now inflection is part of body language. If I look at Joyce and say, boy, that's a pretty red sweater.
Thank you, dear.
All right, now think about my words. That's a pretty red sweater, but no, my inflection said I don't like it at all. So we've got to be aware of it. And body language is really, I mean, there are no absolutes in body language, but that's why I love studying it. It's in cultural. So many things can come into play, but it's important that we understand body language. It will give you a little advantage in some conversations, because there's also, we use involuntary body language. Joyce was talking about it a second ago about the rolling of the eyes. True story, I was in a meeting. Wonderful psychologist. Oh, I loved working with her. She was such a wonderful psychologist. She was a little bitty lady. But she had an involuntary body language signal. When she was frustrated, she would roll her eyes. We were in an IEP meeting one time, and it was not going well. And we had gone over and over, and this mother had some real communication problems. She was angry, and this psychologist rolled her eyes. And literally the mother came across the table with a right.
Oh, my word.
Yeah, I mean leveled her. And next thing I know, I'm separating. The poor psychologist wasn't doing a lot of fighting back. And I got her out in the hall. And of course she was just shaking. And she said, "What happened?" And I said, "I saw it all. I know exactly what happened." She said, "What?" And she said, I said, "The mother said this, and you told her to go to hell." She said, "What?" And I said, "When she said such and such, you rolled your eyes in such a dismissive way. The only thing she could do was fight or flight, and she fought." God, I'll never forget it. But that's a real, I think, over-the-top example. But think about your involuntary body language. Here's something that we do. It's a product of the time. We're sitting in that meeting. So, oh, go ahead, I'm listening. You may hear every word that's being said. You may be totally engaged, but your body language is saying, I've got something a little more important here. So we need to be aware of what we're communicating. Again, body language, I love it. 2 books, I bet you most of you have read them. Dressing for Success for Men, and the other one's Dressing for Success for Women. They've been around forever, but they come out with new editions like every 2 years. Very inexpensive. I mean, very. I looked on Amazon not long ago, and I mean, they're like less than $3. I mean, it costs more to have them shipped to you than to buy the book. But they're fun reads. And it's not just about dressing, although that's in there, a lot of it. It's about body language. I have to admit, I'm not that schooled in Dressing for Success for Women, but for men. You know the most important article of clothing to show authority? Tie. You lose the jacket, but it's the tie. White shirt shows authority. Blue shirt shows you can approach that person. Red tie is the power tie. So a red tie and a blue shirt. See, I didn't get dressed in the dark this morning. That's a real good combination to wear into a meeting. It kind of shows authority that's approachable. We can work this out. Guys, when I'm going into a meeting, I want all the chips on my side of the table and I can get on there. I'm going to dress for success. And in this day and time, I never taught a day in my life without a coat and tie. And now it's hard to tell who the the person doing the yard work out in the front of the school from the faculty. We've gone so, we've dressed down so. But I encourage you, when you're going into that important meeting, get those chips on your side of the table. And of course we know about power suits for women and all of that, but read the books and I think you'll find them fun. Yes, sir.
What's the move by the facilitator if you've got somebody, you're sitting around the table and there's somebody who's clearly disengaged or sending an I don't care or a real judgmental or sort of nasty energy. Do you call that person out?
I do. Now, I may not call them out in front of the group. Guys, I think we need to take a break. We've been at it now for a while. Marshall, would you like to get a cup of coffee? Of course you would, as I grab his arm and take him out in the hall and say, Marshall, I have all the respect in the world for you, but I need to hold a mirror up to you for a minute. Here's what your body language is saying. And I don't think you mean to say that, but I want to be on your side on this. And I want you to understand that you're communicating anger or you're disengaged or whatever.
Well, Doug, I think it is all a bunch of crap.
Well, I'm so sorry you feel that way. Is there anything that we can do to make you feel a part of let me help you. What can I do to make you feel valued in this process? Because I'm here to make you feel engaged. What can I do for you? I'm going to throw it to him now. I'm going to he's causing the problem. I'm going to let him fix it.
And I was in a situation where I had a director and a father who hated each other, and they were sitting like this, and I had to invite them to please sit just for the next hour that we're going to be in the meeting, so that their backs were not to each other.
Yeah.
And I said, just for an hour. You don't have to become best buddies or go to the game together, but can you please just be willing to sit that way? And they agreed.
It's a science. I mean, it's an art. It's not a science. But really be aware of the fact that body language is not absolute. I may have my arms crossed. Again, it may not mean I'm closed. It may mean it's 30 degrees in here. Or it may mean I got a big old fat tummy and this is just a good place to rest my arms. So you have to really kind of be open to that. I mean, it's not absolute. But there are some things I love to study body language. I'm looking around. I see 6 people in here who are steepling. Ron, that is characteristic steepling. His hands are up, and it goes to the nursery rhyme. Here's the chapel, here are the doors, or whatever. Anyway, here's the steeple.
And here's the steeple.
And it's pointing fingers, the strong steepling. Hands up to the side of the face and fingers pointing up. Darren is steepling. And what it means, it's almost, it is involuntary. In a comfortable environment, like I hope this is, it's a sign of comfort. Life is good.
Yes, it is.
In an environment that's tense and adversarial, it's a sign of superiority. If you're in that tough meeting and Ron is doing that, we know that Ron probably has something up his sleeve. He's going to, so I'm going to pay attention to it. I may not know what it is, but I know he's in a superior position. And I want to know what that is. 4 years ago, for the State of the Union address, President Obama was talking about his new health proposal. And the camera was focused on the Democratic side of the House. And they're up and they're clapping and the camera. And here sat the Republicans. And I told Joyce, I said, this is going to be a hard year. I didn't know at the time it was going to be 4 hard years. But at any rate, steepling gives you insight. Or if you understand steepling, and body language in general. Remember, it's cultural. When you see body, all right, Asian kids, Hispanic kids in some of the islands, those kids are not going to make eye contact with you as an adult and hold the eye contact. Now, they'll make contact, but they won't hold it. Why? In their culture, they're told from the cradle, when you hold eye contact with somebody, that's a sign of social equality. You are not your teacher's equal. So, in our culture, look me in the eye, kid. What's wrong with you? You know, obviously you're being dishonest or something. And you know, that poor kid's going, culture conflict here. I don't know what's going on. It is so much fun to study body language. I really encourage you to kind of get into it.